Hey guys, welcome to the season 2 of the Art at Heart podcast. And this is the podcast where we dive deep into the soul of creativity, culture, and the vibrant pulse shaping our local art scene. And to take us off again in this episode 2 is not a guest. Yes, Ilgeni hapa. This is her second time, and I'm talking about Gleh the poet, an activist, a poet, an artist, an actor. She's more than just one. So yeah, Gleh the poet. Welcome back, man.
Thank you.
Tell us, how has it been? It's been a minute.
Oh, it's been a long journey.
Uh-huh.
Tangu last time, it's been a year, I guess.
Yeah, it's been a year.
It's actually been a year, literally.
Mhm.
Last year, June to this year, June. And a lot has happened, a lot has changed. But yeah, we move regardless, yeah?
Move regardless. And today we want to see the power behind Gleh's pen. I'm not talking about just her writing. I'm talking about her new album, man. She is fire. The last time we were here, we were talking about your album. I can remember. And the last time we were here was more than a year, if I can remember, because
Yeah,
it was
it's
before
been more than
June.
a year.
Yeah, and so much has happened. And Gleh, since the last time we were here, what has changed?
Oh, first of all, the last time I was here, I mentioned it was me coming back to the poetry space after a 2-year break.
Yeah.
But then I mentioned that I was working on an album, but I didn't really work on it last year.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about it again after mentioning it here. So after the Gen Z's protests, now that is when I was so compelled to like really write about it, because I'm not just a poet, I'm an activist. Like I use my art to create voice, to bring activism into life. You get. So after the Gen Z's protest, I was like, damn, I should take this opportunity to create something yenye itakuwa memorized year in year out, because the events on that day, events tunaweza brush off na a year or something.
Definitely.
So yeah, since last time I have finally worked on that album. Now we are launching it soon. Yeah.
Damn. An album is coming up, man. So Gleh, you've talked about the Gen Z protest, which is something that is going to really pivot our conversation today. What new thing have you written and that it scared you so much, and what happened? Did you put it out there? How did it go?
Well, first off, during the protest, I went to protest at home. Siku protest Kisumu. Nilienda kuprotest Kakamega. And after nimefika home on the third day of the protests, napigiwa simu na one of the people wenye walikuwa around me wananishow, unakumbuka dem fulani alikuwa kando yako tukiprotest? She has been shot.
Wow.
So I was like, wait, what? Nimekuwa naye literally 30 minutes ago.
Yeah.
Nimeenda home juu ya tear gas and stuff na live bullets zishaanza kutumika. Nasikia mtu mwenye alikuwa kando yangu ashadedi. So like that thing really ilinifunza kitu moja. We were going on the streets just to fight for our rights. Plus, it is constitutionally stated that it is our right to protest. Unaona? And then we are going to fight for our rights, and then we are being killed.
Yes.
So I was like, mbona? The only way wanaweza tusikia it was something bad, hiyo kitu walifanya ni kitu mbaya, is if we talk about it. And because I'm not like a good person when it comes to talking, I decided to transform that into an album, just talking about not just the Gen Z's protests, but what has happened since this government stepped into office until right now. If you ask people to tell you anything good they've experienced, it will take them time. Mtu ukimuuliza, hebu niambie tangu serikali iko kwa pao umeenjoy nini, umebenefit nini, mseta kwa like hebu ngoja nifikirie, but hebu go and ask ni nini tu mbaya imehappen tu moja, like people will give you answers and you go like. So I was like, let me use my poetry to create something that hata hao wenyewe huko juu akisikia watakuwa like shut. So that is why I decided to do Free Freedom. And when I was writing it, the worst piece I wrote, it's not like the worst piece, but I think the piece that took me time to write was Rest in Power. Like Rest in Power, Free Freedom has six pieces. Kuna Free Freedom itself, kuna Waongo, kuna Mshukiwa, System in a Change, Vision 3020, and then Rest in Power. So Rest in Power took me like weeks to write, because it was heavy. Unaandika kuhusu wase wenye walidai kwa struggle yenye hata ulikuwa part of. Like it's like you're telling a story that your children and the children to your children will be told.
Yeah.
So it took me like a lot of time. It was so emotional. I was crying. Hadi najiuliza, why do I really want to ruin my mental state? But then again niko like, nisipoongelea nani ataongelea.
Yeah.
So let me do it. It takes one person to cause a change, to cause revolution. So let me just do it. Ndo mtu mwingine akisikia yepi ataiongelelea, and will keep on advocating for change now and then. So rest in power is ile yenye ilini.
It's one of the crazy pieces.
Yeah.
So you've talked about activism, and to those listening, I would want you to explain. You're an artist, right? And there's activism. Could you just let us know more about activism? What really pulls you to it?
Well, activism is different from activism, kinda, but they are more or less the same thing.
Yeah.
For you to be an activist, you have to have that art of being an activist.
Yeah.
You get? So activism is basically just doing activism but using art.
Yeah.
So some of us use poetry, people use visual arts,
Yeah.
people use like different types of art to do activism. So basically activism is that, and it's not necessarily about governance or anything. You can do femicide. Activism can be about GBV, can be about SRHR, can be about gender equality. Like activism is diverse.
Yeah.
And I feel like activism should be embraced more, and people should start using it. If you are an artist, start like doing it like for activism.
Create some
like
change,
use
yeah.
it to create change, because unaona hata kwa gazeti, I remember when I was young, I didn't like reading the newspaper artists, what has done what, but nilikuwa naenda hadi huko kwa ile page wamechora wase, you know, when they draw cartoons of people,
the cartoons, yeah.
People didn't understand that was activism. Hata mimi mwenyewe at that time I didn't really know that was activism until when I came to the activism space and started learning what these things entail. Niko like, oh, kumbe that is also activism.
Yeah, that is also activism.
So like activism should just be used as a key tool for change. I mean, tunaweza unda play, tunde pale soko to actie madhi.
Yes. Like we did at the project with power.
Like the project with power 254. Like
yes.
Unaona, that is activism for change. Juma mama atakuwa anaangalia vitu mnasema ako like, oh, so this is what it entails. You know, not every Kenyan reads the Constitution.
Definitely.
But if you're an artist and you know what the Constitution entails, how about you transform your art to activism?
Okay.
Why not create like something nice? Art is not boring. Art is really enjoyable. You can like create a skit yenye inabamba but inaongelea tu Constitution. Mtu akiwatch ako like amecheka, but at the end of the day ame get something, amelearn. So yeah.
Nice. I'm trying to get back into the conversations we've had, and I remember there was one time you were talking about you getting people telling you not to work on your projects because it's political, it's activism, it's touching into the wrong doors. And I'm trying to think, you've always been releasing pieces that poke the government, the system, and it's not just from last year. Poetical Battle, you had a piece.
I had pieces, actually.
I had pieces. So I just want to know, at what point in your poetry did you get to realize that it's not about just poetry anymore, rather than it's something much bigger?
Well, I would say 2017, during the previous elections za hiyo mwaka, I felt so compelled to do piece ya politics. But then, back then, I was still in high school and I didn't know, like, I didn't even get what the Constitution entails. You know, I was just writing, I'm pissed off due election rigging and stuff. But then again, after nimetoka shule, I started now understanding these things. I remember ningebuy data just to read an article called Constitution. So while I was understanding those things, and then I come back to the reality on the ground, nianze kujifunza about what is really happening, I'm like, people are really violating the state. Like, even the people in power, like, wamechukua hadi power ya Constitution.
Yeah.
So that is now when I told myself, like, I have to be a voice of reason. And there's a quote that we always say, I even said it yesterday at a certain forum, when we lose our fear, they lose their power. So when I'm doing my pieces, I don't do my pieces with fear. As you, I'm poking the government, they'll come
It
after
comes
me.
intentionally.
It comes intentionally. Like, it's intentional. Jumina feel if I'm saying the right thing, na imefikia the right person,
Yes.
atanitafuta.
Definitely.
Unaona?
Yeah.
But anitafuti juu nimesema uongo. Ananitafuta juu nimesema ukweli. But at the end of the day, for yeye kunitafuta, alisikia hiyo piece. Na message imefika home. Message imefika place. Nilikuwa nataka ifike. So I always just go with that slogan, yeah. If I lose my fear, they lose their power. So I have to lose my fear, do my pieces. And my pieces are not like, how do I put it? They're not like condemning the government for good things. They're condemning the government for what they're doing. Now what they're doing is not good. Like,
Definitely.
it's so evident.
Yeah.
You see, like, you remember when they were campaigning, they used to tell us, oh, wheelbarrow, serikali ya mama mboga, serikali ya boda boda, but they're the same people who are out here looking for money left, right, and center.
Yes.
They're looking for money, and at the end of 5 years, they'll just be brought for sugar, a kilo of flour, aleso, and they're like, yeah, tumrudishe tu atatuza. And they fail to remember that during these 5 years they were starving. So I also don't use my poetry just to poke the government. I use my poetry to poke citizens also. Like,
nice.
At the end of the day, ni wewe ndo
You also have to be
umempeleka
held
huko
accountable.
just because amekupea leso na skari. What is wrong with you? Hakuna siku skari kilo moja itakuserve 5 years. It can't happen.
Yes.
So we can't keep on voting in bad governance in the name of after 5 years ataniletea skari. We cannot.
Okay.
You can't keep on voting in people in power just because you are promised a wheelbarrow. How about they give you that wheelbarrow first before they get into power for us to see the change?
Yeah.
How about you elect someone who's truly fit for that seat? Mtu hana any criminal record. Mtu unaona ana deserve your seat. How about we stop using poverty as a mentality to inject leaders into power? Alafu wakishafika huko unajua definitely they'll just use our money to improve their lifestyle. Yes. How many roads are not constructed in Kenya? How many schools? Students are still learning under trees for some counties. Hospitals hazina beds. I was looking at just here in Kisumu, Kano. You know how Kano floods? And I was looking at the news one day and I saw watu wamebeba msemededi kwa if you've watched movies za Yesu, you see how there was a roof yenye ilivunjwa huko juu ndo mtu ashukishwe. So you see whatever they used to lower that person, people were wawili huko mbele, wawili huko nyuma, wamebeba hivi mtu amededi, alafu wanatembea kwa swampy area, wanampeleka morgue. Why? Gari haiwezi kuja kwa hiyo place. Na hii ni road. Do they have an MCA? Do they have an MP? Do they have a women rep? Do they have a governor, a deputy governor, a senator? That county has them, but they are not doing what they're supposed to do. Barabara hazipitiki. You see? And then at the end of the day, taxes zinashinanga tu zimeongezewa. After every financial year, taxes zimeongezewa. It's not wrong to pay taxes. We always say that. But mbona tulipe taxes na tuoni change? What for?
Do you ever feel like activism comes to your pieces sometimes unconsciously? Umekaa tu unasikia tu kitu inakubo umeanza kuwa activist.
Yeah, actually it does. I remember there's a time I was writing about there's this boy.
Yeah.
So at the back of my mind I wanted to write about love or something. But then I ended up writing about the president.
Oh Lord.
And I was like, what is wrong with me?
So it does pop up unconsciously.
It does. Like, what is wrong with me? But then again, it just flows with me and go like, why not?
So you've gotten used to the vibe.
I have to. Like, it's me.
You've made peace with
I've made peace with it. Like, however much I'll try to praise some things, siwezi to. Issues like femicide. When writing pieces about femicide, hata nijaribu kupraise sijui gava imetusfinance sijui what tufanya campaign. At the end of the day, women are still dying. So I can't write to praise the government for giving us funds to protest for ending femicide, but I can blame them for not handling the issues regarding femicide well. What's wadogo amededi? Like 2 weeks ago, there's a 17-year-old kid who died in Siaya.
I remember.
Days before that, a 7-year-old kid who was raped and buried, killed and buried. You saw that?
Yeah,
like, it is happening.
So
it is happening. So even though I try to write any other thing, like akili yangu tu nirudisha tu kwa activism. Like, I just have to speak up. It's crazy. I can't control.
Do you think poetry is a form of protest?
I wouldn't say protest. I would say it's a form of revolution. Because when you listen to some poetry pieces, you kind of listen to something in you communicating to you, telling you we deserve better. We need change. We have to speak up. So it's like it's like I wouldn't say origin per se, but it's like something championing for revolution.
Yeah.
So it isn't a protest, it's just a tool for revolution. It's a tool for revolution, yeah.
And do you think poets have a role to play?
They do.
What role?
They do have a role to play. I'll use Teardrops. When I was listening to Teardrops, while I was still trying to figure out my way around spoken word, I wasn't like well versed with what is happening. Like nilikuwa najua kitu ina happen, but unajua si as I wasn't as interested as I am these days. But while I was listening to his pieces, niko like,
You're
speaking something. And then there is poetry aside. I wouldn't say poetry aside, yes, but still in poetry. There's Willy Oeba.
Yeah, Willy Oeba.
Pieces za Oeba ukizisikiza unakwanga like, damn.
This guy.
Like I was listening to one of his pieces, alikuwa anasema ati pesa ya kisima walikula, and that's the damn truth. Like, unajua iko like, hey, did you have too much? Yo, yeah. So like I feel like poetry, poets have a role to play when it comes to activism. They really have a role to play. But ni wewe unachoose unataka kuplay role yako. Unaweza mwa kunyamaza. Kuna freedom ya kunyamaza, you know. Yeah.
You say you're kuna kunyamaza, so it's up to you as an artist to get your niche and what speaks to you.
Yeah, it's up to you to get your niche. I don't know. Unajua art kwa unasikia wasanii ni kioo ya jamii.
Yeah.
In the same way to art inakwanga like a mirror. Unajua if something is not sitting right with your face, ujiangalie kwa kioo, it won't look better.
Definitely.
It won't. Like aitakapoa.
I can see it like
like so
with time, do you feel like the poetry scene has changed? We were discussing this. Like, do you think it is a male-dominated space?
Nah. No.
Why? Do you think there was a notion that it was a male-dominated space?
I think there was a notion that poetry is a male-dominated place. I remember, like, back then in 2018, 2017, tulikuwa na hii show KTN, sijui tulikuwa inaitwa Artistic Tuesday.
Yeah.
If I can remember. And, like, featured poets wengi walikuwa male. Hadi nilikuwa najiuliza, mbona mademo hawakwangi kwa TV juu ya poetry na tuko hapa chini ya maji? But then again, looking back from like 2 years ago to now, kuna kina Felicity Moody's, kuna Spontaneous Ray, kuna Gleh the poet, kuna Wangui Kimani. Like, it's no longer a male-dominated space. It's an old, how do I put it? Ni ya kila msi. Like, it's si ati maboy ndo anaifanya mo ama madem ndo anaifanya mo.
Kila mtu anaifanya.
Sasa kila mtu anaifanya.
Have you ever felt like with the notion it is a male-dominated space as you identify yourself as a poet? Have you ever felt like disregarded or belittled in a room? How did that go? Because with your response, it looks like
that was a while, not even a while back, like months ago. I felt bad.
Underestimated.
I felt underestimated. I felt bad. I felt unseen. But then again, I was like, you know, you can take me from a certain village, unilete tao, but you can't take that village from me. I'm the one to decide if I want to change my villageness to be something different, if that's English. But and then I came to agreement with the fact that kuna wase akili yao iko tuned to think some type of way about women, and even though I'll tell them tafadhali acha kufanya hivyo, they'll still do it to provoke me to say something, and once I say something it will be women. So I decided to like I decided to assume that the person, nimwache tu, we work together for that specific project we were working on. But then after that, because I need my space, I need my freedom, I need my peace.
Yeah, nyosha mkono niachane na
Niachane naye juu, man.
So it's how you respond to all this also tells more about you.
Yeah, it also tells more about you. At the end of the day, you can respond to someone and then they bring up an argument that hata wewe mwenyewe uko like shit, ningenyamaza tu juu hata namwambia kitu yenye na make sense na yeye mwenyewe ashajitunia akili. A girl can't tell me this, a woman can't tell me this.
With time, do you think there's sisterhood in poetry right now?
There is sisterhood in poetry. There is sisterhood. It's coming.
She's not gonna respond to that the way I want her to respond, but we are going to move.
All I can say is we are better than we were before.
Yeah, this work.
It's coming. It's coming up.
Yeah.
In a change.
Yeah, we will respond to that akikuja next time. So, time pia nasonga, but I really want to talk about your album. When is your album launch?
Hi guys. My album launch is on 20th of June. The title is Free Freedom, and from the title, like for the longest time, kutoka enzi za kina Jomo Kenyatta, Tom Mboya, Dedan Kimathi, they were still championing for freedom. And you know, one might think that because our forefathers fought for our freedom, like right now it's going to be better, or we assume it would have been better, but we're still going on the streets to champion for freedom. We're still seeking for freedom. We still can't express ourselves as we should. Or even if we express ourselves, Maxi always says something. In Kenya, freedom of expression, Nico. Where's the express?
Freedom.
But what happens after the expression? It's crazy. So free freedom is basically us championing for a free country, a country where everyone will feel equal. You know, our country has normalized equality, but in a discriminative way.
Yeah.
The only way you want to equalize is to discriminate. And the goal of this launch or this album is just to make people like, you know, to champion for equality, to champion for free freedom, and just to speak up and to commemorate the fallen Gen Z soldiers.
You heard it from the lioness's mouth. I don't want to speak much about this album. This is the second female poet to release an album in this town. I'm going to bring the first one here very soon. Thank you guys so much, man. Thank you. The Adonai podcast. Stay tuned. Kuna piece ingine moto inakama after hii. Thank you guys. Thank you, Gleh.